everyone. Today I'm going to make something that I've never made before, and it looks really delicious, and I want to tell you where I got it from. This guy, he's the Preheat Kitchen, and he's online, and I just absolutely love his style of baking. It is absolutely amazing. He is unreal. So he has this new dessert, these butter cookies that he just came out with, and they're infused with a tea and cardamom and some really awesome ingredients. So I'm going to use a breakfast tea to infuse these butter cookies, and he has a different kind of tea, and I don't have any of that tea that he uses, so I'm going to try this. So it's not a really difficult recipe, but it's unique, and they look absolutely delicious. So I'm going to go through all the steps with you, and this will be new for me too, but they look wonderful. So I hope we both enjoy this recipe. These are all the ingredients we're going to use. We're going to use a cup of butter, and we're going to brown half of it on the stove, melt and brown it. And we're going to use flour. We're going to use 1 egg yolk. We're going to use vanilla. We're going to use cardamom, cornstarch, and your favorite cookie cutters. And the tea that Preheat Kitchen used is it's an Earl Grey tea, but I'm using a breakfast tea because that's what I have. And this cookie is basically showing different things that you can infuse in cookies to make it kind of unique and flavorful. So I'm going to use the breakfast tea. So one of the first things we want to do is take our tea bag, and we're going to need 1 tablespoon of the tea, and it's going to have to be ground up real fine, because when you have the cookies, you want this to be infused with it, but you don't want to be biting into large pieces of it. So what you're going to do is you're just going to do like this with your hands or your fingers. And if you have a grinder, like a coffee grinder, and you don't mind getting this in there, you could do that. But if you can see right here, that's the idea, is that we're sifting this into very tiny grounds. So an easy way is you could use a spoon, but you're going to need 1 tablespoon of this. So just keep on grinding it till they're really, really, really fine. And you can use a coffee grinder or any kind of machinery that could grind this down. So you're going to need more than 1 tea bag. So I'm cutting up another one. You may not need a full 2 tea bags, we're going to see, but it has to be a tablespoon altogether. This took 2 bags of tea to make 1 tablespoon of ground tea. So that works out. So now we're going to put this aside. We're going to melt a 1/2 cup of butter on the stove on medium heat until it's browned butter. Okay, you're going to want to melt your butter on medium heat because we want to brown it. So if you want, you can cut them up like I did in small pieces, and it can melt a lot quicker. So it's on medium heat, and we're going to just cook it on medium heat till it browns. It's getting there. We're just going to wait for it to brown. Okay, now you can kind of see it's kind of browned now on the edges. So now you want to take it off the stove. And we're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla in the pan while it's still hot. And that's what you want, that nice sizzle. So this is exactly how you wanted it. You wanted your butter browned when it was melted. And then after you took it off the stove, you added your teaspoon of vanilla, and that's what you were supposed to do. And now this is very hot. So the next step is you're going to pour this in a bowl because you want to kind of cool this down. So this is the melted browned butter with the vanilla in it. So I'm just going to try to get all this goodness out. There's still a little bit of the browned butter in here. Okay, and the next step is we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of our cardamom. We're going to put that right in, and we're going to stir that around. And then we're going to add our tablespoon of ground up sifted tea leaves. And you can imagine how fragrant this is. It's very, very fragrant. So what we need to do now, this is going to be what infuses our butter cookies. We're going to put this in the refrigerator for 30 to 40 minutes. And every 15 minutes, you're just going to open up the refrigerator and kind of stir it. This is going to turn into kind of a pasty consistency. So now we're going to go put this in the fridge and stir it every 15 minutes. So after 30 minutes, it coagulated into like a paste, and this is exactly what we want, just like this. So all those flavors, the browned butter with the vanilla, the tea leaves, and the cardamom is all in here. So what we want to do next is we want to put it in a larger bowl, and we're going to mix our softened butter, and then we're going to add our powdered sugar and our 1 egg yolk and salt. So we're going to gradually incorporate all of these with my mixer paddle. First thing we're going to do is we're going to add our 1/2 cup of softened butter to our basically our compound butter that we created is what it kind of is, and we're going to mix all this together with our paddle. You can see all the speckles of the tea. Now we're going to add a 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, kind of gradually. That's like a 1/4 cup. We're going to add our other. So we're kind of blending everything kind of gradually in, and you're going to use your spatula around the edges. And then you're going to add your 1 egg yolk. And then we're going to add our 1 teaspoon, or a 1/2 teaspoon, excuse me, of salt. And I'm using kosher salt. And we're just going to mix this till it's creamy. You don't want to overmix it. It's about right now. This is our beautiful creamy cookie dough before the flour. So now what we're going to do is gradually add 1 3/4 cups of flour and a 1/4 cup of cornstarch. And this will be the finale of it. And we're going to mix this together. We don't want to overmix it though, because we don't want a lot of air in this. So here is our wonderful cookie dough. I'm going to do things not exactly like Preppy Kitchen does. Like he uses a waxed cloth. And he also says to use like parchment paper in between and then wrap it up to refrigerate, but I'm not going to. I'm going to do some things that are original that I do. So what I am going to do is put a little bit of flour here and just get this in a disc. You just want to kind of form it and put it in a disc. And then what I'm going to do is wrap it in saran wrap and plastic wrap instead of how he wraps it in his. He has a wax cloth, which I would really like to look into getting. It's real pliable, and he's using that instead of wrapping it in parchment paper. And I do have parchment paper, but for me, I think it's going to work better for me to wrap this in plastic wrap. So what you want to do is you want to kind of form this in a disc, which is what I'm doing right now. And once you get it in a little disc, of course you want it floured on both sides because you do not want anything to stick. So I think this is about right. And what he does is he kind of rolls it about an inch thick and then he wraps it up. And I don't think it really matters because you're going to make cookies and however you do it. So I think I'm just going to wrap it up like this. I'm not going to roll it out. I think this will work perfectly for me. So if you want to use like parchment paper, he actually rolls his in between 2 pieces of parchment paper, and that works for him, I'm sure. But I'm going to just wrap this up in plastic wrap, put it in the refrigerator for 20 to 30 minutes before rolling them out in cookies. So I'll see you in about 20. Okay, you're going to preheat your oven to 350. Okay, we took this out of the refrigerator and now we're gonna roll it out. And you wanna have anywhere from like a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch thick. And we're gonna cut our cookies with our cookie cutters. And like I said, you can use any kind you want. I have every kind you can think of. I have square, I have round, I have all kinds of really fun cookie cutters. So let's get started here. We have square, we have round, everything. So here's our first batch. We're going to place these in a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven for anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes. So the recipe actually says 12 to 15 minutes, and I went with 12, and they did bake a little higher on my gas oven. But they're still good, they're not burned. So I would start with 10 minutes. Like I said, it depends on your oven, but these look so good. So we're going to taste them. We're going to bake the next batch for 10 minutes on 350 degrees instead of 12, which was the minimum before. Okay, here are our finished cookies. They look really good. Now, Preppy Kitchen did an icing for these cookies, and I haven't done that, but I bet it's really delicious. So let's give these a try. They're really buttery and have a very unique but delicious flavor. I'm not sure if I'm going to do an icing, but I think I'm going to. Just because I think we want to compare them with an icing and without one, but these are absolutely wonderful cookies. So I hope you give these a try. Okay, I've decided to do an icing because doing an icing is just like they say, doing an icing on the cake, and I think it really will make it better. So I have powdered sugar, I have a zest of 1 orange, I have a pinch of cardamom, I have I think a tablespoon of milk, and I'm going to mix everything together, and this will be in the description, the total recipe for this icing. So we are going to add a little more milk. And we're going to just mix everything together. So it's basically orange zest, powdered sugar, cardamom, and a little bit of milk. And so this is going to just top it off. The cookies are absolutely wonderful without an icing, but this will just kind of, like they say, put the icing on the cake. It'll just give it that extra little pizzazz. So we're going to ice these now. Okay, here's the icing on the cake, so to speak. So here's our icing, and we're just going to kind of do like this. And this, all it does is enhance what's already absolutely amazing. There we go, and there's your beautiful cookies. Okay, I decided the best way to make these cookies is the way that Preppy Kitchen showcased them, and these are absolutely amazing. I did do the icing, and I'm glad I did because it just gives it that extra taste that it really needs. It's good without it, but it's more plain. It's not real sweet, but this just takes it over the top. So if you want something really unique and really delicious, these are absolutely wonderful. They're butter cookies with a real twist. So I hope you give these a try because I know you'll love them. So I hope they turn out wonderful for you.